The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Another week, another fantastic show of the UAB Director's Chair. He is the athletic director, Mark Ingram, on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm Tony Kurre. Of course, the show's listen to right here, I believe 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday. We, by the way, Mark, we started doing podcast and shows. We now have a show every hour from 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and we are officially done. We have no more room for shows, man. I mean, there's no more hours in the day. So that we're really proud of that. We've now 1,500 podcasts strong. The network is growing, and of course, it's people like you and shows like this that are making it successful. So thank you so much for being in partnership with us, and thank you for being part of this. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you.
It's good stuff. We took a little bit of a break over the holidays, and we're back at you, and so good. We picked up right where we left off. Something we did not discuss last week, and by the way, UABsports.com. Go to the website for everything that is UAB. We'll talk about some hoops, and we just talked about signing day, National Signing Day, or the lack of last week's show. You can go back and listen to that as well, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Donald Trump is obviously just ripping through just about everything he can get his hands on. A lot of Trumpsters are loving what he's doing. He's actually doing what he said he was going to do. One of those things was banning transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. It's amazing because, for example, the state of Indiana several years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, banned it K through 12. And I don't want to get into politics here, but it's hard not to. But a lot of Democrats were kind of against that. And now they're expanding it, obviously, because of Donald Trump all the way through college. And now Democrats are actually getting on board. I thought it was interesting. The NCAA president, Charlie Baker, came out and he actually applauded the effort and said, finally, we got some clarification. I think that seems like a really good word for what's going on right now. We had a question here from Michael down in Southside. He wanted to get your thoughts on that and how does that affect UAB?
Well, there were several judges in various states around the country who had created challenges for the NCAA to be able to do anything as a governing body. I think I've said this before. The NCAA is an easy target as this sort of organization, and it'd be the same as the federal government. What I mean is, it doesn't matter what political line you draw and who you're voting for or not, they're always going to be criticized. You really have no idea. We, as citizens of the country, really have no idea how much work is being done or not in the White House. We can cynically joke about it or, poke fun. And the NCAA is a similar thing. And we don't really have any idea how much work's being done every day. It's probably a lot more than any of us realize. And so on this issue, they were challenged with being able to come up with a rule, a one-size-fits-all rule, because there were, like I said, various states that had conflicting laws that prevented them. And so I'm glad whether we like or dislike what the decision is individually, it at least creates guidance, federal guidance that we all will follow now and that we are going to obey. That is the same here as it is in Texas, as it is in Wisconsin or Wyoming. I mean, wherever it is, it's helpful guidance. So again, not trying to make a statement of what I prefer or don't prefer. What I do prefer is that there's federal guidance on what the answer is, because if you're sitting in my seat and a person comes to you and says, I was born biologically male, but I identify as a female and I want to play on this team, it's a tough spot to be in if your state says you can or can't, but the NCAA hadn't ruled on it. It's just you found yourself squarely in the middle of this issue. So I don't think it's been that many times. It's just that when it happens, it makes national news. We get national coverage about it. But there was a swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania, allegedly a volleyball player at San Jose. And I say allegedly only because there's been some question as to whether or not that's accurate or not. So that's kind of interesting. But so I don't know what's true. So anyway, I'm glad that there's guidance. It's been helpful.
Not only is there a lack of knowledge and education about what transgender means, what it means to sports and everything. And I think there's a lot of ignorance out there talking. The thing that bothered me, just as a true sports fan, is you're talking about such a small, and I'm not just saying because you have a small group, you shouldn't be heard. Don't get me wrong. The smallest groups are usually the loudest, but this is not a major issue that needs to be taking up as much time as it has over the last several years. That's all I'll say. Now, if I had a family member who was gender or I was, now certainly all the time in the world couldn't be spent on that. And I get that. But we got some big fish to fry, particularly with everything going on in college sports right now. And this is not one of those things that I think is one of the most important things to do. What were your thoughts on him freezing federal grants? I know there's been the DEI programs, and it seems like everyone's on board with that. It seems like everyone's dropping their, and it's going from an institutional standpoint. Where does UAB land on the DEI? And of course, the fact that Donald Trump is trying to get rid of that support on that, the NIH, so research funding, and even the Title IX stuff. But where does UAB land on that stuff, and how is that affecting you?
Yeah, there's a lot there, Tony. Our state passed a bill last year regarding the DEI measures, and so UAB's made the necessary adjustments that it needed to there, and we as a unit inside athletics, being a unit inside the umbrella of the university, we are following all the rules, if you will, and protocols, and adopting new policies that fit structurally inside of that. So that wasn't difficult for us. A lot of the rules changes were easy adjustments to make. We have some really good programming that send a message of welcoming. That's really what we're trying to do. I can't speak for every state and every athletic department. What we want to do is make everybody feel comfortable and welcome, no matter what their race is or their gender, et cetera. We want you to feel welcome to be here. And so all of our messaging centers around being welcoming and to people of all sorts. So that's on that. But I think the question around recent executive orders that could impact, last thing I want to do is speak out of school here and talk about something I don't know enough about.
Yeah.
But grant funding, educational grants, that sort of thing. And UAB receives a lot of money from the federal government, like NIH, that's the National Institute of Health, those grants. We rely heavily on that as an institution, and our medical center, the med school. So a lot of our research, we are a center for research. And so a lot of those monies are allocated to that research. So changes there are, obviously would be concerning. And how do we do that? And Dr. Watts and his executive team and the folks at the hospital are all, at the tip of the spear on that conversation. So how would that affect athletics? I suppose is if there were radical changes, dramatic changes there that impacted the university, then they've got to adjust how they fund that and us and every part of the university. So it's not one of those things that, those guys over at the hospital, boy, they got an issue. There's a trickle down, to this sort of issue. So
no, it goes all the way down to the janitor, and I'm not going to go as far as to say this is throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but it does seem like this is a mass cleaning out. We talk about draining the swamp. This is draining just basically everything, and I think a lot of it is because of fraud. This may not be the best way to go about it, and it does seem to be quite it's not conservative, that's for sure. He's getting after it, but I also think that a lot of people are going to be looking at UAB because you are one of the best research schools, not only in the United States but in the world, and people look at you and all the wonderful things that UAB's done from a research facility standpoint, and it's very, very important that you continue to do that. And I think Donald Trump knows that, and I think for the most part he'll make that happen. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. One more thing of business here before we get into UAB sports and the basketball program, stuff like that. We've got this. We talked about the House versus the NCAA. That should be finished sometime in April. We'll know exactly what's going on. And with these four major conferences now forming an LLC, they will have to hire a CEO of that business. Do you have, and obviously you guys won't be part of this, you're still part of the college umbrella, and I know that bothers you. But can you think of someone that would be a good CEO for that position? Or what kind of CEO? Should it be a college person? Should it be a former college person? Should it be someone that's just a business person? Who would you like to see in that spot?
I am nominating you, Tony. I think it should be Tony Curry.
Yeah. Oh, we'd have a blast with that. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a college person is absolutely right. When you look at people who have become athletic directors from the private sector on a national scale, they are rarely successful. And these are some of the most successful business minds in those various communities. Not to pick on anyone in particular, but the founder and CEO of Domino's Pizza, who I'm sure I've never met, but I'm sure is highly intelligent. He's a Michigan graduate and loves Michigan, and he became the athletic director at Michigan.
Yeah.
And then they fired him 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And well, why is that? It's because there's so many subtle nuances about it's not a business, it's an enterprise, and there is a difference, and there are things that we have to manage and monitor that you don't have to do in private business. If you're a state institution, we're very different than any private business.
Mm-hmm.
State institutions are very different than private schools and in how we operate. That adjustment, if I went, say, to a private school or vice versa, it's not a huge change. In fact, if you go from a state institution to a private, it's pretty easy. The opposite is tough. But when you are running a private business and you're a fan, there are private business people in every community who are successful that are friends of their school that think they could run the athletic department or run the university. Then they get into it and they realize how different it is than what they used to do. All that to say, I think that would be a mistake to pull some person who's super successful business person, throw them into that and expect them to understand. You got to understand how we got here. It's not just like, hey, you got this problem, now fix it. There's a history here on how we got here.
That's a great point, by the way, and no one's saying that we have to figure out how we got here in the first place, because obviously there's a lot of fixing.
That's part of understanding the solution is the how we got here. And my hope is that somebody at some point is going to have the courage to reverse the transfer rules. That's, in my opinion, bigger than paying players. The biggest problem here is that we're allowing people to transfer every single semester and play immediately. Transferring every semester is fine, but when you get to play immediately,
is that for, as an athletic director, is that a cats are out of the bag problem with you, or do you think that can be reversed?
Not with me, but I think there are people. Now, I said earlier, it's easy to pick on the NCAA, so here I go. But there are people at the NCAA who think, yeah, too many lawsuits, can't do it. And when you say lawsuit, when you say auditor, fire marshal, antitrust laws,
60 minutes,
these are bully words that people use when it's just too much work. I don't want to address that. And it's too much work to figure out the solution. So if I'm trying to have a conversation with you and I say lawsuit, fire marshal, auditor, most people go, oh yeah, well, we don't want to get into that. Let's not get into it. And so you don't ever discuss the issue. But that's an issue. And to me, I know the NCAA has had to field just lawsuit after lawsuit, but we need to all stomp our foot down and go just say, well, bring them on then.
Yeah.
We'll just have lawsuits, because we got to find some rule here. And nobody wants to protect the coaches from a public standpoint, but the coaches are the ones who people say, well, it's their fault, his or her fault that we didn't win. But the background on, well, the reason we didn't win is we had that player that nobody offered, but we offered. We saw the diamond in the rough. Our coach identified their talent when nobody else would. And we redshirted that player, got him a little bigger and stronger, put him on the field, and they showed what we knew they had that nobody else had. And then guess what?
They split.
Somebody else said, boy, that person's really good. And they pay them a number that is greater than we can afford, and they're gone.
That happened to me with women in high school. Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine about that because I was a band geek, but I was driving a 1977 AMC Hornet with wood paneling down the side, so I was the man. Back in those days, if you had a car, you were the man. It didn't matter what you were driving. Now, when I got my 1984 Monte Carlo SS my senior year, I was the man, right? And I had the stereo on. But I remember, and I'd meet girls in band because I was a marching band. I always mentioned I played one down. I was a tight end for the Lakota High School Thunderbirds, and I had got the first down, 3rd and 14, got 15 yards, and then the other tight end on the team said he was going to kick my ass if I played anymore. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to play anymore because he was much bigger than I was, and I was a big guy. But I go out with these girls, and people are like, "What are you doing? She's nasty. Look at her." But then when you start going out with someone, they automatically become more attractive. Sure. Because there's a demand there. And so I would go out with these girls. And so like women were going, go out with Tony Curry because if you do, you're going to be going out with the president in a couple weeks.
Step up.
Yeah. They were using me as a stepping stone. And of course I had absolutely no problem being a stepping stone in high school at all. We're recording this show here on the National Kiss Day. It is International Condom Day. It is Valentines Day. This is the day where women get together, single women, and they have gals and girls sit around and celebrate Valentine's Day, just girls. They got that thing. And it's also National Desperation Day because a lot of people are desperate on this particular day. I'm going to ask you a personal question about Valentine's Day and your lovely bride coming up at the end of the show. So make sure you listen up.
As soon as you said National Kiss Day.
Yeah. All right.
I thought about the band.
No.
I was like,
No, that would be cool. That would be cool. But it's just National Kiss Day because like people can't wait till tomorrow to kiss, I guess is what the deal is. Tell everyone what's going on at UAB Sports, UABsports.com. Basketball program was just humming and drumming and flying right along. They run into this Pirates squad the other night. I was kind of like, what? And they got up early and I was like, okay, here we go again. Now, of course, they're coming home against the Bulls coming up on Sunday. I'll be down there for that game. But talk about where the basketball program is. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, man, we lost a close one at East Carolina. Their last, I felt like 10 minutes, they were like doing like this, and it was going in. They couldn't miss. And, that happens. It's sports. And I'm not certainly down on our team and certainly not down on our coach. We play South Florida on Sunday, so please come out to that game. It is our annual Gene Bartow Classic where we give $2 of every ticket. Every single game ticket sold, we give $2 to the Cancer Center, to the Gene Bartow Fund, the Cancer Research Fund. So nice. It's really meaningful to us and people that are longtime UABers, but anybody, as we all have been, had experience with cancer and people in our lives that we've lost because of that. I really hope that people will see that as an opportunity to be supportive and come out and kind of remember loved ones and celebrate loved ones and do something nice. It's a small gift, but we give $3,000 to $7,000 a year through that effort to the Cancer Research Fund. So which we're proud of, and we continue to do that. So the game's at 3:00 in Bartow Arena on Sunday. Hope you'll be there. We've only got 4 more home games on the men's side. Only 2
crazy?
What? Yeah, only 2 more on the ladies' side. Women's basketball sitting 6th place right now out of 13 teams, in the American, and we are tied for 2nd with North Texas. So the men are. So still a lot of important basketball to play. South Florida is a good team who we beat once at South Florida, but it was a close game that we really needed. So having a big crowd makes a big difference. So come on out.
Anything else going on in any of the sports? You are the AD of it all, Ben.
Yeah, well, softball just started last weekend with our brand new coach, Taylor Smart. She's awesome. She's
met her. She's really nice. She was on the Inferno with us. A great person. Yeah, she's wonderful.
Great. Baseball starts this weekend. So, Casey Dunn feels like he's got a really good squad and more pitching than we've had, which is, that's the name of the game in both of those sports. So he feels like he's got more healthy arms than he's had in his other seasons with us. So I'm excited about spring sports getting off to a good start. And, we've really had a great year, Tony, and we didn't have the season we won in football. And so as a result of that, people are like, everything's terrible. That's just not true. We've actually had a really good year in everything other than football, which I know how important that is. But our other coaches and our other student athletes have had great years. And I want to make sure that I keep saying that because they deserve to be celebrated for their success. And not let, what one team's lack of success kind of loom over everything else.
Yeah, it won't be long before a spring game comes up, brother. It's going to be here before you know it. I mean, time is flying. April 26th.
Calendar. April 26th, mark your calendar. We're going to have something at the practice facility. It'll be kind of a fan festival event. You get to meet our team. Got a lot of new players, and we got some new coaches as well in football. But it's a real family fun event, and it's the same day we have both a home softball and baseball game, so you can go to this thing with the football team and then walk across the street and go watch baseball and softball. I think it could be a lot of fun.
Okay, so I actually like Valentine's Day now that I'm not married because I'm telling you, the pressure, I was married almost 20 years, the pressure, it's not use pressure, man. You love your wife and you want to do things for her, but to come up with something new every year and make sure it's special. And a lot of people say, after 18, 19 years, it's just like any other day. You got kids running around and it shouldn't be. It should be anytime there is a day that symbolizes love and you're married or you have a girlfriend, it should be a special day. If she's telling you, I don't want anything, don't worry about me, let's not do anything this year, I'm telling you, man, you better do something. And
at least some flowers.
I had a friend of mine was married much longer than I was. And I was like, what are you doing for Valentine's Day? This is before I get married. He's like, we do the same thing every year. We get a Domino's pizza. We sit around, watch a movie. And I'm like, really? And I was like, yeah, that's what you do when you get married for 25, 26 years. I'm like, well, guess what? 3 years later, they're on the outs. By the way, he just remarried. So good for him. So what happens? So you got to make it special. So first of all, and not to make any pressure on you, but I mean, now it's nice because I have a 12-year-old daughter, and now I get to. Yeah. She's my Valentine. I've been putting stuff in her lunch every day this week to let her know how much I love her and how special I think she is, and she needs to be treated like the way I'm treating her as a man. She better be taking some hints from me. So not to put any pressure on you, and I know you're super busy, and I know you have a very understanding wife. She attends a lot of things with you. What are you doing for Valentine's Day on a Friday night tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I am the worst about Valentine's, anniversaries, and birthdays. I am really bad about this.
About remembering them or just about doing anything?
No, I remember them. I am lucky that my wife is great about it. She's not high maintenance when it comes to that. Look, who wouldn't appreciate a gift or something? But, one of my favorite comedians is a guy named Lewis Black, and he has this bit about the most romantic holiday, Valentine's Day, which falls right in the height of flu season.
Yeah,
and which is really funny and true. And anyway, but we don't have a plan. I will probably try to take my bride out to dinner somewhere and tell her that that I love her and that kind of thing. But we don't have. I kind of wish we did have a routine. You say that about the pizza in the movie. I got a good friend who, for his anniversary every year, goes to Pizza Hut with his wife because that was their first date.
That's special. That's special. I mean, I get that.
Yeah. And so, but good for him for being able to. Now, you got to find a Pizza Hut in some places, but I don't think you have to spend a lot of money. I just think it's about acknowledging.
It is truly about the thought on Valentine's Day, and if you put some effort into it, I mean, you don't have to make a card, but if you put some effort into something, it means the world. And if we just, as men, if we just listen a little bit, there's nothing that makes a woman happier when she's told you something in May. And then somehow, maybe she's got an old lamp that she got from her grandmother. I did this for my wife at one point, and she's like, I've been wanting to get that fixed for so long. I love that lamp. And so I took that lamp in May, and I was like, man. And so I held that thing, and I ended up giving it to her for Christmas. And she totally forgot about it. And that was that, they got me. That being said, that
was a good move.
I'm now divorced 4 years. What has there ever been?
Still a good move. Don't let that change.
I thought I was doing the right. And then towards the end, then it was just how much I could spend. I'm like, okay, since I'm not coming anything with the table, then I would just say, well, if I spend $500 or $600, that should be enough to get her happy. I give her a gift card, blah, 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 blah. Once you get in the gift card area, there's no return. So you can't
Tony,
do that.
How much do you have to give to be from under?
Yeah. Well,
how do I get out from under? What do I have? How much stuff do you need? You've been married, and we've been married 27 years, coming up to 28 years, and what is it you need?
Let me
another sweater.
Yeah, really, exactly. Let me ask you this then: can you share with me two things. First of all, was there a Valentine's Day? It doesn't have to be your wife. It could have been a girlfriend back in high school or whatever. Was there a Valentine's Day that you had what you thought you really knocked it out of the park? Or something you vividly remember that maybe it just totally fell on its face, just a good story. And then I want you, and I'm going to tell you this before because I want you to be thinking about it. I want you to give me your best classic rock love song.
Ooh. Well, gosh, I should have been prepared for the classic.
I know, and I just thought of that, and I thought, well, we have to, we have.
Boy, I wish you'd give
well,
me
we can do that next week. We'll pick up next week, and we can talk about, post love. I'm sure you'll give us a rundown on how your Valentine's Day. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that because there's a lot of love songs, a lot of great love songs.
So similar to you fixing that lamp.
Yeah.
My wife became pregnant with our fourth child, Audrey, our daughter, and I gave her this. I looked up all the things that I could come up with that were unique about the number 4.
Oh, nice.
And then I had a calligraphist. I had this long list, and I cut a lot of it out. And I had a calligraphist just write this list of things that make the number 4 special.
Wow.
And then I had this, think about a little window box at the top of this, frame, and it's a picture of the 4 kids that we put in there later after we had the 4 kids. And it was just this list of things written by this calligraphist of things that make the number 4 unique.
Oh, that's nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. The first Valentine's Day I had with my ex, Lou Rawls was playing on Valentine's night at the BJCC Concert Hall. This was back in 2000. And she was working at the Botanical Gardens. So like giving her flowers was like no big deal. But I had a tape recorder and one of his songs, one of my favorite songs, Lady Love, My Lady Love. I had that on cassette and I put that on their thing. And of course I worked at a radio station so I could edit this thing and put it together. And I said, so I played that song behind me and I said, push play. And it's like, hey, it's Tony and Lou Rawls is playing tomorrow night at the BJCC, and I'd love it if you'd be my Valentine, blah, 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 blah. And of course, all of our friends heard it. And, that's the best thing when you do it in the office and all of our friends see it. I mean, they get off on that. That's good stuff. So that was probably one of my, and then Lou Rawls got arrested for domestic violence, by the way, early on the 14th, and we all raised money to bail him out. So he actually played a great show down at the BJCC, but yeah. So that's probably one of my better times, but yeah, you got to think about these things. I mean, it doesn't have to be super special, but it does give us an opportunity to do something special. Let me put it that way. You do you go, your wife or your husband better than anybody. You do what you think, but it opens a door. There's only 3 or 4 of them, anniversaries, birthdays, and Valentine's Day. It does open the door for you to do something a little extra. And I think whenever those opportunities arise, you should take advantage of them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, smart. You gotta be thoughtful. I'm not thoughtful the way that I should be. I've got a friend, a buddy of mine in my neighborhood I've just noticed that about him.
Mm-hmm.
He really gets well in front of birthdays. He has 3 kids, and between his 3 kids and his wife, he's very thoughtful. He gets way out in front of holidays and all these things, vacations. He's like 9 months ahead of everybody else, it feels like. And I give him a lot of credit, man. And I told him that. I'm like, I don't know what is the bone in your body, that the spot in your brain, whatever, that makes you better than this than everybody else. But man, he makes cakes. How about that? He got into baking cakes, and he makes these really unique, I would just call meaningful cakes for his kids. Yeah, on their birthday, he's the one that bakes the cake.
Wow,
and he's
cool.
got all these funny shapes and stuff. Like if they're, like he gave, I don't know, one of them when she got a car on her birthday, I think the cake was in the shape of the car, and just stuff like that. I think cool. It's really cool, and it takes time and thought and planning. And I give him a lot of. So it's not about what did he spend. He's very thoughtful.
Yeah, that's good.
I wish I were.
All right, my man. Well, maybe we've learned something here. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have a wonderful time tomorrow night with your wife, and you have your special moments, and we'll catch up next week.
Sounds great, Tony. See you, man.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.